Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly Alderton. I want to welcome you to my show, Live in Hope, Focus on Healing on the MS&Me Radio Network. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in because I really try to make these broadcasts of value to my MS family. And today I'm going to be talking about a very controversial topic, if you will. And I've been talking to people about this for decades. And that is the topic of MS myths. The myths that limit us or control the way we deal with our condition or this journey living with MS. And, a lot of these myths just pigeonhole us into a certain type of thinking that is definitely, in many cases, not true, and in many cases will almost limit our opportunity for healing and really repairing our body. So let's go ahead and get started and let's talk about some myths here. And I'm going to kind of lump a few of these myths together. And one that is that you can't beat MS, that you'll die from MS, or that MS is incurable. Now, I'm living proof. I am symptom-free, healthy, strong, over 13 years. I know many people that have turned around their whole disease course by going with holistic and alternative therapies to really heal and repair the body. So, of course, I think I am totally cured of MS. And so you have to think about that when someone puts that label on us that it's incurable. There's not really any science backed by that. But I can tell you there's plenty of science and evidence showing all the people that have turned around their disease using different protocols. Now, another thing that many doctors use on us is that, we'll die from MS. And that to me is just fear-mongering, scare tactic, because you can live just as long as anybody else with your MS. You just have to do things in a certain way. Now, I know some of you might already be throwing up a red flag saying, hey, I know some people that have died from MS, but this is my question. Did they die of MS or did they die of the disease-modifying therapy reactions and side effects? Because we know the DMDs can cause cancer. We know they can also cause PML, that brain infection that's deadly. We know the DMDs will suppress your immune system so bad that you can get other autoimmune conditions. You can get other illnesses. I've known people who have almost died from simple bronchitis because their immune system was suppressed so severely that the body just could not fight it. So there's some things you have to think about when you're thinking about that idea of longevity and MS. Now, another really profound thing that we all hear, and again, it's a myth, that our immune systems are attacking itself. Guys, that has never been proven. And in fact, as I was preparing for this broadcast, I went to the National MS Society page and I asked that question. And this is exactly what is on the National MS Society page, and you guys can I'll go look it up. Multiple sclerosis is considered to be an immune-mediated disease in which the body's immune system attacks the central nervous system. Most MS experts believe it to be an autoimmune disease, although this continues to be the subject of debate in the scientific community. Autoimmunity, the prefix auto means self, means that the immune system is reacting against normally occurring antigens or proteins that stimulate an immune response in our bodies, and as if these antigens were foreign. However, no specific antigen has yet been identified in MS, leading some and many MS experts to conclude that MS cannot be classified as an autoimmune disease at this time. Guys, this is on the National MS Society page. Let me say that again. Some MS experts concluded that MS cannot be classified as an autoimmune disease at this time. Doesn't that just destroy everything on the foundation of how they're having us deal with our MS and these disease modifying therapies and all these other protocols? I mean, it gets kind of crazy when you hear that, because we're always told, got to suppress that immune system because our immune system is attacking itself. So just think about that a little bit. Another MS myth is that there is a single cause of MS. Now, in these last 30 years, I've heard plenty of ideas, but there's still no single cause of MS. Some doctors will say it's vascular. Some people will say it's from past traumas, either in an accident or personal trauma and emotional traumas. Is it a vitamin or mineral deficiency? Is it from environmental toxins? Like I've stated before, I played softball for over a decade under high voltage power lines. My twin sister also did the same thing, and we were both diagnosed in our teens with MS. So was that a factor? I don't know, but no doctor will say yes or no either way. Another MS myth is MS caused by stress? And when we think about stress, we know stress can invoke a relapse. Just because our body, when you're stressed, goes into that fight or flight mode, it's not safe for us, it's not healthy. So can stress be the cause factor of us having MS? Again, there's no scientific proof to that, but some doctors will say yes. Is it caused by an infection, or is it caused by a fungus? Again, we're not really sure. Doctors simply don't know what causes MS, although the only treatment they prescribe for us on a daily basis is drug therapy. Drug therapy that suppresses the immune system so severely that you do open yourself up to more illness, infections, and maybe even progression of your MS. Just like I had talked previously about my twin sister who was on all the disease-modifying drugs. Her MS actually progressed when she got on Rebif, and she couldn't walk. Once she went off the DMDs, her body started healing again. So we have to think about that. And why is there only one way with traditional medicine to deal with our MS? Because our bodies are so complex. They can't even tell us what caused our condition. They can't tell us the root cause. So how are they going to just put just a DMD label on it that's going to be the thing that helps us? They just can't. Now, another MS myth that we hear all the time, and in fact, this is really concerning for a lot of people when they're looking for support from their family, is that you don't look sick. How many of you have heard that out there? I used to hear that all the time. I would just be laying around because my legs weren't working properly, or they had that like numbness and tingling and achiness. Oh, you look good. You don't look sick. Well, that is something that is a big issue for those of us living with MS, because we look healthy on the outside, meaning we walk normal, our skin's normal, our face looks normal. So some people may think that we're not really sick, or some people may, and I've heard this a lot, think that you're faking it just to get some type of sympathy or attention. Now, any of us in this journey understand MS is notorious for wreaking havoc on our bodies all internally. From the top of our head to the tips of our toes. We know this. And because of this, it may be totally unnoticeable to other people. But of course, it's very apparent to the MS sufferer, right? Because we're living with it every day. So therefore, we have to really look at MS as the most silent or invisible disabilities because of this. So with this misconception, I've heard so many stories from other MS family members saying how their family is just not getting it. They see them and they say they look good, and they're wondering why they can't go out and do everything, why they can't, help out more. So this is a misconception that we definitely have to hit at head on, because people will be misunderstood. So I just want to let you know, if you're feeling that way, if you're going through that, I understand. And the only thing we can do is just share this information with our family members so they can understand, and we can really change that myth once and for all. Now, another myth that we have with MS is that you must go on a disease-modifying therapy to treat MS. In fact, I hear this from people every day that are newly diagnosed. The doctors will not let them leave the office until they decide what disease-modifying therapy they will get on. Now, if you go against them, they're not going to be happy with you, and that's what I'm hearing every single day from other MS sufferers. Now, why is a DMD, a disease-modifying drug or disease-modifying therapy, the only thing that we're given to treat our symptoms? Not to repair or heal, just to treat symptoms. It's kind of like putting, a Band-Aid on something, but it's not really doing anything. It's not going to the root cause of the problem. And the side effects are deadly, like I already spoke about: brain infection, cancer, suppressing our immune system. We have to know that we cannot focus on the DMD therapy if we want it to be healed. Now, this is your own journey, and all I can tell you is what I've done and what I've learned and what I've studied since 2001. I honestly don't know many people living symptom-free or healthy and strong being on a disease-modifying therapy. So again, that's something we have to think about. Why is that the only tool, if you will, that the neurologist is giving us? Okay, we have to really think about that. What's underlying in that decision? Okay, now another MS myth, and some people might agree with this or might disagree, is that MS is hereditary. Now, I know plenty of people who are the single person in their whole family with MS. And like I said, my twin sister and I were diagnosed within a year of each other. I was diagnosed at 17, she was diagnosed at 18. Now, why I don't believe it's hereditary is because I believe it's simply the fact that we were exposed to the same things. My sister played all those 10 years with me, softball under those high voltage power lines. We ate the same foods. We cooked everything, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks in the microwave. We were exposed to the same environmental toxins. My dad was the guy who always had the greenish yard and everything, spraying everything, bug killer, everything like that. We would be playing in the yard. We were exposed to the same stressors even. So that's why I really say we have to take a big look at it. Are we all being, exposed to the same factors, or is it really hereditary? So that's really just my opinion on that. Now, another thing that the medical community will talk about that is really a myth is we don't want to stimulate our immune system. And I can't agree with that, and I will never agree with that because, of course, the doctors say we don't want to stimulate the immune system because it's attacking itself. But as I just told you, even from the MS Society page, their doctors cannot conclude that it is an autoimmune disease. So what we can do is focus on healing. And my doctor told me it wasn't important to have my immune system working or functioning properly. Now, did that make any sense? I said, if my immune system's not functioning properly, how will I ever be well? He said, oh, we're not worried about that. So that was a red flag for me. And if that is happening with you and your doctors, again, that's another thing you need to really start questioning. It's just common sense. If you have a healthy immune system, you have a healthy body. Now, another myth that we have is that a healthy diet or supplementing will not help our MS. But all evidence to the contrary. We know people are having amazing results by eating healthy and supplementing. We have diets that have helped people turn around their disease course. We have the SWINK diet. The SWINK diet is based on over 50 years of research and people turning around their MS. We have the Walls diet. We have the OMS diet. And we also have the Quambre protocol, which is the high doses of vitamin D. People are having phenomenal results. We have so much evidence and research backing that that we know you have to look at a healthy diet, you have to look at supplementing. Now, this leads me to another conversation that I had with a high-ranking official of the Chicago MS Society, and he was a marathon runner, and I came personally to hear him talk, and he told us we do not want to focus on studying diet or supplementing and healing our MS. And I just chuckled. And as I looked at him and I said, really? I said, well, what are we focusing on? And he said, good news, we are focusing on more research and more drug therapies, and we have 7 more drugs coming out in the next few years. And I was kind of deflated after that response, because here he's a marathon runner running the Chicago Marathon. He knows how important diet is, that how important supplementing is to have a healthy body. So to me, right there, again, that was another red flag. What is backing this narrow focus on only the drug therapy? And of course, it's money. That's the bottom line of everything, right? They can't make any money if we're taking supplements or eating healthy diets. So you really have to stand back and look at things and see why things are happening, why choices are being made, and decide what you're going to do with the right information. Now, another myth that we have is that you should take a passive role in this whole process and trust your doctors blindly. How many out there are doing this? You just say, oh, I don't want to know all the ins and outs of MS, maybe out of fear, right? But you're trusting your doctors blindly. And you know what? It doesn't matter to him if you're healed or not. What matters is that you're on a disease-modifying therapy. I can tell you that much. So what we've done now is we've actually created this environment that the neurologists are a godlike figure, and we trust them blindly. We trust them with our life, and you just can't do it. This is the biggest mistake you can make, so you need to be open-minded, investigate all your options, and question your doctors about everything. This is your life. We only get one go-around, so doesn't it make sense that we're focusing all of our energies on not only understanding this disease, but understanding how we can repair our body? And I often say this, remember, we weren't born with MS. You weren't born with MS. It's just something off in your body, and that's how it's responding. So think about it that way. Say, hey, I wasn't born with MS, but I got to figure this out. What happened? What was I exposed to? Do I have a poor diet? Whatever it may be, you have to kind of make that decision that you're going to figure this out. Again, this is your life. You only get one go around. So question your doctor about everything. It's so important that you not only trust your doctor, but that he is also open-minded to some of your ideas as well. Now, another MS myth that we have, and I have tons of different myths that we can talk about, and I might not be covering all the ones that you're even concerned about, but another definite myth that we have, and it's something that's been troubling to me, as that I saw on a post in a Facebook MS group, was that someone was actually considering not getting pregnant because she had MS. And, people were trying to say, yeah, don't get pregnant. Some said, get pregnant. That's when we were healthier. And some doctors will say yes or no. And again, this is where you need to really have a good relationship with your doctor, and they need to know about your goals with your life and family goals. Now, for myself, I had 2 very different pregnancies while I had MS. And I need to explain that. That myth about not getting pregnant, it's not true. You can get pregnant. You can be just as healthy as anybody. In fact, in my first pregnancy in 1995, I felt so healthy. I actually thought I beat MS with my daughter, and I was feeling healthy and strong all throughout the pregnancy. I just felt fabulous. Now, mind you, 6 weeks after I had my daughter, I did have a relapse. Now, we can say or surmise that that's probably from the trauma of the birth, right? And a lot of people will go through that. But I did get over that in a few weeks. I had lost the use of my hands. That's when I was going with traditional medical protocols for MS. Now, if we fast forward to 2005, on my second pregnancy with my son, It was a totally different experience from beginning, middle, end. That is when I was doing holistic and alternative therapies. That is when I was living symptom free at that time. I started that protocol in 2001 of first treating my MS as a vitamin deficiency, then really focusing on everything I could do to repair my body. So in 2005, after the pregnancy of my son, I had no relapse, no flare ups, nothing. I was healthy, strong, and just normal. And I've been symptom free since that time up to this date as well. So don't forgo this amazing blessing with fears about your MS, okay? Because we know too much now. We know you can have a healthy pregnancy. And you can look around, talk to your doctor. Most people are living so well during their pregnancy. But again, we have to focus on healing and repairing, so maybe you won't have that relapse after you have the child. You know what I mean? But don't forego that. Just really think about that, because you're going to be okay. And that is something, that I am so glad that I did have 2 healthy pregnancies, and I'm doing wonderfully right now. Now, when we start to think about these myths, and another one that terrifies people, and I know a lot of doctors will use this when someone's first diagnosed, into pushing them into the disease-modifying therapies. And I know many of my closest friends with MS were told this by some of the best neurologists in the country, that they would end up in a wheelchair. That again is a myth. That's simply not true. And you need to know, if you focus all your energies on healing and doing things in the right way, with a healthy diet, with supplementing, with exercise, with de-stressing, whether it's meditation or journaling, dry brushing, earthing, alternative therapies like acupuncture, chiropractic care, massage. If you're focusing on ways to heal, you're not going to end up in a wheelchair. And in fact, that doesn't happen all the time. So really think about that when you're talking with your doctor. If your doctor is telling you that right out of the gate to get you on a DMD, you really have to start to think about what his motives are, and are they in alignment with your own theories about MS and your own journey. And that is the one scary thing about it, guys, is that these MS myths are just somebody else's ideas or opinions to kind of pigeonhole us, if you will. Trying to tell us that this is what's going to happen, or this is the protocol we have to follow. It just doesn't make sense. And another myth I want to talk about, and I know our time is kind of going here, is that you can't exercise with MS. Some people are saying, I'm just going to sit here and lay around and everything with my MS. But you know what? No matter what condition you're in, one of the best things you can do for your MS is exercise. You're going to strengthen your core. You're going to help your circulation. You're going to build strong muscles that are going to be able to support you. It's good for your sleep. It's good for your energy levels. So really know that exercise is invaluable for your journey here with MS. Now, talking about MS, and I'm going to get away a little bit from the myths, but I want to tell you, if you're working out and you have MS, make sure you find out, if you're working with a trainer, that this person is skilled with dealing with people with MS. Because historically what has happened is, every trainer I worked out with when my MS was still, having, it was fairly unstable, they would push me really hard by doing heavy walking on the treadmill or riding the bike. And then what would happen, I would get overheated, my legs would start being numb and tingly, my feet would almost feel like I couldn't move. So know that if you are going to work out with a trainer, and I highly recommend it, because especially when you're starting out, it's really going to get you on the right path and get you committed properly. Just make sure that trainer understands MS, your overheating concerns, and understands what you have to do to help have the best workout possible that's really going to benefit you instead of hurting you, like I said, with the numbness and the tingling and things like that. Now, one other thing I want to talk about when we're talking about our MS myths, and I hope you guys are enjoying this, because what we know about these MS myths is these are just going to be limiting us. These are the ones that you're going to go and talk to your doctor and say, no, doc, I know this to be different, right? And another thing we need to talk about is a lot of people will say, oh, MS isn't painful. For who, I would say, because we do know MS is painful. And this is another one of those myths that really could be crushing and hurting people, because when they have people around them and they say, oh, I'm in pain, and remember, you look normal, right, because this is all on the inside, people aren't understanding how painful MS can be. And it can. Your body could be inflamed on the inside. You could have that numbness and tingling and the heavy legs and things like that. And your body's going to ache. Your joints are going to ache. Just know that is a myth. We need to let other people know that yes, MS can be an extremely painful condition. And hopefully by sharing this information with others, maybe your family member doesn't understand and you can kind of get them plugged into this so they can understand this is just a myth. It is quite true. And I remember I used to have the worst aches and pains with my MS. My sister too, many of my friends, and it was just like, oh, not another day, that is typical. But no, you have to focus on just fighting that inflammation to kind of give you some more space, if you will, within your body to help it heal, if that makes sense to you. You have to do the things that are going to lessen inflammation in your body with diet, with exercise, with supplements, with chiropractic care, massage, the things that are going to help ease that pain. So really think about that. And again, that is the one thing that we hear all the time. My family's not supporting me. They don't understand, how much pain I'm in. This person or that person said it's not a painful condition. And that's simply not true. And I just pray that you can share this information so others can understand as well. And the final thing I want to talk about is something that I was told by my pediatric neurologist back in 1988. He said, Kelly, don't worry. We're going to have a cure for MS in 5 years. And how interesting was that? I walked out of there thinking, no worries, we'll have a cure in 5 years. But I want to ask you, when we look at traditional MS protocols, are we any closer today to a cure than we were back in 1988? And I want to say no on the traditional side, because they make too much money on the disease-modifying therapies. They do. It's big business. Your illness is big business. So you have to think about that as a whole. Now, when we think about that, when I was diagnosed in 1988, they were not pushing drug protocols like they are now. So in my mind, they just didn't know the kind of money they could make at it. And that's what we're seeing now. An MS society and many doctors and big pharma solely focus on disease-modifying therapies, because if we're healed, they've lost a customer. So think about that and think about common sense when we're thinking about healing and the disease-modifying therapies and actually a cure, because it's just not in their regimen for us, if you will. Now, when I say about cures, I do think we have a cure. I do think we have ways we can heal if we start looking to holistic and alternative therapies. Now, I know some people say they never heard about it, but get plugged into ways to heal your body. If you heal your immune system, if your body is functioning properly, your body will naturally heal. And that's just simple science. So I want to thank everybody for joining me today on this call. I know I kind of went through so much information today, because these MS myths are something that can really derail us on our way to health and healing. Check out us on MS&Me Radio Network. We have a 24/7 broadcast that's available, and I want to wish you all good health and happiness, and God bless.